Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley, UUCBV, or Brazos UU for short. My name is Joyce Langenegger, and I will be your worship assistant today. We are a welcoming congregation, which means we celebrate and welcome all people of diverse sexual orientations and gender identities. We also strive to welcome people across diversities of race, age, ability, immigration status, and belief. We are also a congregation working for reproductive justice. So whoever you are, wherever you have come from, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here.
Deep listening, compassionate listening, is not listening with the purpose of analyzing or even uncovering what has happened in the past. You listen first in order to give the other person relief, a chance to speak out, to feel that someone finally understands him or her. Deep listening is the kind of listening that helps us to keep compassion alive while the other speaks, which may be for half an hour or 45 minutes. During this time, you have in mind only one idea, one desire, to listen in order to give the other person the chance to speak out and suffer less. This is your only purpose. Other things like analyzing, understanding the past can be a byproduct of this work. But first of all, listen with compassion. Thich Nhat Hanh.
Please say our chalice lighting words with me. We light the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as a beacon of hope for all who seek justice, dignity, and compassion, and in celebration of the life of truth and meaning we share together. Now, all please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal, gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me. Darkness when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
Our Time for All Ages this week is about a time when a group of Unitarian Universalists had to make a difficult decision together and needed to listen to one another. It's also a story to help us celebrate Black History Month. It's authored by Jessica York. Unitarian Universalism is a living faith. We think that people should be free to believe what they must believe, the truth of their life experiences, instead of professing a belief in what we're told to believe. This is what we mean when we say ours is a creedless religion. Being a living faith means that any one of us can change what we believe in if we experience a deeper truth that contradicts our previous beliefs. But in order to change, you have to be open to new thoughts, new ideas, and new experiences. You have to have your ears open to hear the experiences of people with whom you are in community. There is a saying that people were created with 2 ears and 1 mouth because we should listen twice as much as we speak. When we come together in community, we have the opportunity to listen to each other and gain a perspective greater than what we would have alone. Sometimes we listen with our ears. When you are a part of a sacred, beloved community, you listen not only with your ears, but also with your heart. A listening heart has the power to help us be better people. In 1948, most congregations and houses of worship in the United States were segregated or separated by the color of their members' skin. Some were segregated by law, others by custom, or by a lack of actively trying to welcome and include all people. The First Unitarian Society of Chicago was one of these congregations. Although their church was located in a neighborhood with many African Americans, only whites could join, according to the written bylaws or rules of their church, and also according to their custom. The day came that many members began to believe that they needed to take action against racism if they really wanted to live their values and principles. The minister, the Reverend Leslie Pennington, was ready for this day and ready to take action. So was James Luther Adams. James Luther Adams was a famous liberal theologian and social ethicist, a person who studies religion, beliefs, and values. Dr. Adams taught at the Meadville Lombard Theological School right across the street from the First Unitarian Society of Chicago. And he was a member of the congregation's board of directors, or a leader in their congregation. Along with some others, Reverend Pennington and James Luther Adams proposed a change in the church's bylaws to desegregate the church and welcome people, whatever the color of their skin. They wanted to include, not to exclude. They saw this as a way to put their love into action. When the congregation's board of directors considered the desegregation proposal, most of them supported it. However, one member of the board objected. "Your new program is making desegregation into a creed," he said. "You are asking everyone in our church to say they believe in desegregating, or to invite, or even to recruit people of color to attend this church. What if some members don't believe this?" Desegregation was a very controversial topic. In 1948, anything about skin color and racism was controversial. Some people, even some who supported African Americans in demanding their civil liberties, believed in a separate but equal policy which kept people apart based on their skin color. Respectful debate ensued at the First Unitarian Society of Chicago. Both sides felt in their hearts that their belief was right. Perhaps they were so busy trying to be heard, they forgot to listen. And so they kept on talking. The debate went on in the board of directors meeting until the early hours of the morning. Everyone was exhausted and frustrated. Finally, James Luther Adams remembered that we should be listening twice as much as talking. He asked the person who had voiced the strongest objection, "What do you say is the purpose of this church?" Suddenly, everyone was listening. Everyone wanted to hear the answer to this crucial question. Probably the person who objected was listening especially hard to his own heart, as well as to the words he had heard from other board members through the long discussion. The board member who opposed opening the church to people of color finally replied, "Okay, Jim. The purpose of this church is to get hold of people like me and change them." The First Unitarian Society of Chicago successfully desegregated. There are things that you know, and there are things that I know. When we are together and listening to each other with ears and hearts, we know more.
beings than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees, they are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass, and they are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So I listen no more often to things than to beings. Listen no more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Listen no more often to things than to beings. Listen no more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
Miriam Makeba, Nina Simone, Odetta, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday,
Abby Lincoln.
Carmen McCreary, Billy Simon,
Listening seems like it's something we've been doing our whole lives, and you'd think that we'd all be really good at it. But the truth is that often when we're trying to listen to someone, we're actually in our minds working on what we're going to say next. And we're not really paying attention to what the other person is saying. So a lot of the techniques have to do with just being present and really being in the present moment and trying to learn, trying to listen to understand. There are techniques and classes and books like nonviolent communication that help people to do mediation and all kinds of work. A lot of ministry education is about listening because you get so many opportunities to do it, and it's so easy to just talk and not listen. And how are we going to build relationships? Because a lot of things about our size church are about the relationships that we have. Building strong relationships requires listening. It builds trust. It builds understanding. And especially in Unitarian Universalism, where people come from so many different places and so many different beliefs, and we are supposed to companion each other in our search for spiritual growth. Listening is a good way to start, and we can practice. And I don't think we're born good at this. I think it does take a lot of work. I'm not expecting anybody to come into this, especially me, as being successful at it. I think it requires effort and patience and practice, like every great thing. But it reaps incredible benefits. Our understanding, our deepening our relationships. It helps marriages. It helps working with your family. It helps getting along with people that you disagree with and finding common ground. And spiritually, you'll be kinder to yourself if you listen well to what yourself is telling you. So what are the techniques that we can use that will improve our listening skills? Well, Roy T. Bennett, in a book called The Light in the Heart, He has 7 effective ways to make others feel important. And that is a big aspect in being a good listener, is you want to give people your undivided attention. Use their name. Listen, look at them. Don't get distracted. 2, express sincere gratitude. Mean what you say. Be authentic. People know. If they're polite enough that they don't tell you that they know you're shining them on, they know. Number 3, do more listening than talking. Many philosophers over time have talked about how we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and it should be about that ratio, listening to speaking. Talk more about them than about you. Seems obvious. It's surprisingly hard. I think especially during this period of the pandemic where we're stuck in our houses and we kind of lose our social skills on a certain level, and then we're desperate for socialness. And then you have to do it on Zoom where not everyone can talk at the same time. It's tricky, isn't it? Be authentically interested. Everybody has a story, and everybody is very complicated and has many layers. Make it a challenge to find what you find interesting in every person. You'll be surprised. Be sincere in your praise. Make it a point to try to find things you like. It feels very sophisticated to be critical and judgmental. It makes you feel, I don't know, like you have the power. But I think really trying to find something that you appreciate about the other person is a way to build relationships, especially in a congregation. And number 7, the most important one, show that you care. Compassion. Have compassion for other beings. It's not always easy. And have compassion for yourself, that if you mess up, just start over. You're not going to be perfect at this, but we can all get better at it, and it will make all our lives richer and more fulfilling. So that's what Roy says. You can check out his book. It's excellent. One of the techniques that people often use is a technique where you listen and then you repeat back what the people say to you, paraphrase it in your own words. How did you understand what they said? Let me see if I'm hearing you right. Did you say, and then say your version of the story, and they give them the opportunity to respond and tell you and correct it if what you thought you heard was not what they meant. Or if they didn't communicate well and want another shot at it, give them another shot at it. Let people talk. As Thich Nhat Hanh says, it reduces their suffering.
Deep listening is the kind of listening that can help relieve the suffering of the other person. We can call it compassionate listening. You listen with only one purpose, help him or her to empty his heart. And if you remember that you are helping him or her to suffer less, and then even if he say things full of wrong perceptions, full of bitterness, you are still capable to continue to listen with compassion. Because you know that listening like that, with compassion, you give him or her a chance to suffer less. If you want to help him or her to correct his perception, and then you wait for another time. But for the time being, you just listen with compassion and help him or her to suffer less. And 1 hour like that can bring transformation and healing.
So I love this idea of deep listening, because oftentimes when someone comes to you and they want to really vent, they want to purge whatever is going on inside them, people start talking and giving advice. So if you allow the person just to let whatever those feelings are to come out, and then at another time come back to them with your advice or your comments, you would experience a deeper healing. That's what you're saying.
Yes, the fear, the anger, and the despair is born on the ground of wrong perception. And we have wrong perceptions concerning ourselves and the other person. And that is the foundation for conflict and war and violence.
You've said that the only way we can begin to end war is due to communication between people.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And we should be able to say like this, dear friends, dear people, I know that you suffer a lot. I have not understood enough of your difficulties and suffering. It's not our intention to make you suffer more. It is the opposite. So please tell us about your suffering, your difficulties. I'm eager to learn to understand. It has to start like that, loving speech. And if we are honest, if we are true, they will open their heart and tell us. And then we practice compassionate, deep listening. And during the process of deep listening, we can learn so much about our own perception and their perceptions. Mm-hmm. And that is the best way, the only way to remove terrorism.
Terrorism or even difficulties between yourself and
Yes.
family members or friends.
Yes.
And the principle is the same no matter the conflict.
Yes.
Terrorists, anti-terrorists,
Yes.
father and son,
Right.
yourself and your boss,
Right.
yourself and your children, your best friend.
Yes.
So just restate what they said to you and see if that doesn't create a bond and create a more understanding between. Acknowledge the other person's thoughts and acknowledge what they're saying to you, even if you disagree with it. This is a tricky part of the whole becoming a better listener, is especially when you're in a conversation over something you feel strongly about. Listening to the other person is the first step to getting to a place where you might find a common ground or, God forbid, change your mind. And listening to others and modeling listening to others is a great way to get them to listen to you. It like lowers the temperature in the room. It loosens things up. It makes things calmer and makes things friendlier. It's a real important skill. And I'm not saying that it's easy, because it's not. To reach conflict resolution, this is the most important skill you can develop. Listening to understand first before you start, negotiating back and forth or trying to get them to hear your point of view. Make sure that you really, really empathize as much as possible and try to see it through their eyes. Walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. There's some magic involved in this. The magic of just acknowledging another person's point of view makes them much more likely to trust you and to hang around long enough to hear your side of things. But don't be thinking about how you're going to get your moment and you're tricking them into it. You have to actually try and do this. There's the problem of people think if you acknowledge the other person's point of view that somehow you're agreeing with them. And I really don't think that's true, but it is a fear that we carry with us that creates that need to feel like we have to hurry up and get our 2 cents in. I think people want acknowledgement and they also want to be agreed with. If you can meet them halfway and just acknowledge what they say, there's a lot more room there for both parties to find new ground. Here's some examples. Like, say you were a counselor talking to someone who was having problems with drug addiction, and you're listening to them and you're understanding their need for the drugs. And you say, I hear what you're feeling terrible right now and that you really want some drugs. And I want you to know that I'm still concerned this stuff you're taking is going to kill you. So you're hearing them and you're acknowledging, but you're also saying your point of view, but saying it with a lot of care and empathy. Say you were a mom talking to your 7-year-old. I know that you want some more cake and ice cream, Jimmy, because it tastes so good, but you've already had 3 pieces and I'm really worried that you're going to get an upset tummy. That's why I don't want you to have any more. That is a very reasonable mother conversation. I'm not saying it'll work, but it might get you there. In each place, you're listening first, and you're really listening. You're not doing anything but listening. You're being in the moment. And you're trying to find common ground. You're trying to imagine yourself at their point of view. And you acknowledge back to them your version of what you've heard. So they have a chance to correct you if you've misheard something. And you can always ask questions. Asking questions is the secret weapon black belt ninja of listening, you say, am I hearing you right that you think this, or you see this, or you feel this way? And just saying that really helps the other person feel that you care and that you're actually trying to get what they're saying. It's very satisfying. The real other pitfall that people fall into is to immediately go, yeah, that happened to me, and here's the advice I would give you in that situation. You have to remember that their experience is not your experience, no matter how similar those experiences are, and try to avoid giving advice, especially when it's not asked for. People who help when they're not asked are extremely annoying. I have been that person. I'm telling you, people do not appreciate it. Don't do it if you can help it. That was advice, unsolicited, and given in the sermon. Yeah, you don't want to repeat what the people say exactly. Definitely summarize, give it your spin, ask questions. Am I getting that right? Did I understand you correctly? Ask questions. If you don't understand something, I'm not sure about what you were saying there. Can you say more? Tell me more. This is like a secret weapon. Tell me more. So it sounds like maybe you were feeling X, and ask questions and see if that was really how they were feeling. It's amazing, but how you would respond is not always how the other person is responding. Having a little of the emotion that the person who's talking to you shows as they're telling the story, when you repeat it, that's a really good idea. It's empathy, connecting. You want to connect with people. We're all connected on a certain level, and we're not the same. It's complicated like that. So listening is difficult. Listening is hard. And I hope you'll give it some practice. The next 2 Lunch and Learns on Thursdays, we started our Lunch and Learn series. You can just go to the church website for lunch on Thursdays and virtually. And the next 2 weeks, we're going to be practicing listening practice with guided prompts and listening to each other, whoever shows up. So I hope you'll take the risk and come. I think it'll be fascinating, and we're getting to know each other better and make the most of the virtual pandemic time. Thanks for listening.
In honor of so much of the work in connecting circles and connecting the hoop. This is our song called Wider Circles. We are moving in wider circles. We are opening our circles. We are moving in wider circles. We are opening our circles. We are moving in wider circles. We are opening our circles. We are moving in wider circles. We are opening our circles. Oh, be a compass. I'll be your lighthouse. Speak your words with
We're moving in a wider circle. We are opening our circles. We are moving in a wider circle. We are opening our circles. We are moving in a wider circle. We are opening our circles. We are moving in a wider circle. We are opening our
Now, let an offering be taken to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. This church shares the proceeds of the offering plate donation every week to support important nonprofit organizations with which we work. This month, we are proud to support Tiny Hope Village, a nonprofit organization formed to provide a permanent housing solution for people who have experienced homelessness in the Bryan, College Station, Hearn area. Please be as generous as you can. We give thanks for these gifts we have given, for those we receive, and for each other. May your generosity return to you tenfold. Now, please join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again.
Our benediction today comes from the Good Listening Project, a poet named Ravina Raven, who works at the Infusion Center at Johns Hopkins Hospital. It's called Why I Take My Time. Every moment is so precious because we never know what someone's next steps will be and whether we'll get another chance to listen to them again. This is why I take my time with patience. It can be a while before they tell me how they really feel, but the connection you make is immeasurable, and I believe that this can help people heal. Ravina Raven. Go in peace.